I'll talk until I have to board.
Okay.
Okay.
Grace, welcome. Where are you? Where are you going?
Tony, thank you so much for having me on. I left Allentown earlier and I'm stuck in Philadelphia. There's something wrong with the plane in Philadelphia airport, so we're not boarding. And I'm on my way to Duke University, so I'm hoping to get there tonight.
What are you going to do at Duke?
They are celebrating 10-year anniversary for their Reconciliation Center. So I am participating, I'm moderating one panel. And I have other meetings there, and then I'll be meeting with the Asian Theology Group. So I'll be talking with them tomorrow night. So there's a lot of activities. Hold on one second. What happened? B10? Okay, I have to change gates. So I'm going to walk and talk. I'm in gate C, but we have to go to B10. So
okay, while you're walking, tell us you're like a big boss in the AAR right now. You're like one of the big decision makers.
Well, I wouldn't say big boss, but it's kind of an honor to be elected to be on the AAR board. So we had I attended the first board meeting last month in Newark, and it's more demanding and it's more complex than I had actually imagined it to be. So, but it's exciting to be part of it and contributed the scholarship or whatever way that I can, because I think the Asian American voice or women's voices are very important in the decision making. So it's kind of an honor to be part of it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of exciting, but it's a lot of time commitment, more than I had imagined.
Is that right?
Yeah, way more. Because it's not just the board. Once you're on the board, they put you on another committee. So I'm on the program committee, which is unbelievably a large amount of work. It's fun. God. I'm learning a lot, but it is a lot of time consumption. But it's all good. I'm enjoying it.
That's awesome. Tell us, you've had some, I want to talk about your Homebrewed book, but you've had some other books come out. And hey, Helene, good to see you. I just muted you. You're going to be on right after Grace. You've got books coming out. I mean,
yes.
You've had books come out, and they've been celebrated. Tell us about what you've had come out recently.
Okay, there's 2 books that came out recently, and the one will be coming out hopefully by the end of this month. But the 2 that was so exciting to celebrate was Here I Am, which is an edited volume published by Judson Press. It came out last November, and it's a collection of faith stories, theology, and sermons by Korean American clergywomen and theologians. So that was very exciting to put together, because we were celebrating our 25th anniversary as a group. There aren't that many denominations where there's enough critical mass of Korean American clergy women. There's always Korean American clergy men, but not enough women.
Yeah.
But we have existed for 25 years, and it was really great to kind of celebrate that with the publication of a book. And we're going to do the book launch because we're Presbyterian. We're meeting at Princeton Seminary in April to do a book launch and a panel. So that's very exciting. So that was one book that I love to celebrate. The other book that came out last fall is Embracing the Other, and that's by Erdmans. And that has been very exciting. So actually, I'm going back to Duke in April 12th, part of the Reconciliation lecture series. So actually, tomorrow, Dr. Alan Bozak is giving the lecture. And then the following day on Wednesday, which I'm moderating, I think it's David Anderson. I can't remember his exact name, but he'll be giving the lecture. And then I'll be doing the 4th lecture, which will be in April, on the book Embracing the Other. And it's been exciting, a ride, kind of talking about the book and discussing the book in various circles.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. So the 3rd book that's about to come out is called Making Peace with the Earth. And that's a book I've been working on for a while. It's an edited volume, and it's going to be published by the World Council of Churches. I've been on the World Council of Churches Climate Change Working Committee. So this book kind of came out of that committee. We have most of the contributors are part of the committee, but we also had to invite other folks from around the world. So I think there might be 16 contributors at the end. I can't remember because I've been working on so many different projects. So that's going to be exciting, and that will come out it was scheduled to come out February, but it's been a little delayed, and the editor just emailed me saying it'll be coming out. It's at the press now, so it should be out in about 3 weeks.
Oh, good.
So now, so I'm very excited.
What gate are you at right now?
I'm following people, so I'm hoping I'm going the right way.
Oh, B2.
I'm at B1. I think we're supposed to.
You're
B2.
Yes, B2.
You can see. I hope you can hear as I'm holding this phone in front of me and talking. And
I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly. So.
Great. That's great.
Tell us about the Holy Spirit and what's the homebrewed version of the Holy Spirit.
So Tony, I've been working mad on that book. That's kind of my next book. That's the project that I'm working on in between my flights here and there. But it's been quite exciting. When I was in Qatar a few weeks ago, I did present on Holy Spirit, basically on embracing the other, but I did mention about the homebrewed and how it is kind of the spirit that's moving the world. That conference in Qatar was an interfaith conference, so Christian, Muslim, and Jewish dialogue. But it's interesting because every time I talk about the spirit, people are aware, and it's a great way for us to engage in interfaith dialogue. So I'm very excited. So I have the draft of chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's 6 and 7 that I'm working on. 8 is kind of done. But 6 and 7 is the harder one for me. I don't know.
I've got.
But I'm very. Go ahead.
No, I've got 1, 2, and 3, and
you do?
I'm going to dive into them next week. Looking forward to it.
Okay, great. I'll be home by next week, so that'll be good. So I'm looking forward to the comments because I think really the Holy Spirit is moving in the world, and I think many of us are confused of how we understand and how we interact with the Spirit. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm going to try to help as much as I can with the book. So, and I'm excited with the series. I know that you guys have a few more volumes coming out, I guess, soon, later in this year. So it's kind of an honor to be part of this project.
Hopefully yours is one of them coming out later this year.
Me too. I need your guidance, but
can you tell me before you get to your gate, because you must be getting close. What's one thing you've learned about the Holy Spirit? What's one epiphany you've had about the Holy Spirit in your research on this book?
Well, there's been several. One is that it's such a difficult topic. Every time this might be the third or fourth book on the Holy Spirit. I'm at the gate, but we're not going to board right away, so I'm going to just stand here.
Okay.
It's a very difficult topic because it's not something concrete that you can kind of hold on to. But every time I talk about it with folks who are of different faith and different religion, they are so excited that we can talk about the Spirit and be in dialogue with other people. So that's been one kind of good epiphany, that we can actually engage in dialogue. I think the world is becoming smaller and smaller if we're unable to love one another, because that was what the Embracing the Other book was all about. That if we can't really love one another, embrace one another, then that's a huge problem. So the epiphany, I guess, would be that as we study the Holy Spirit, especially as Christians, that we can kind of engage with the world and be able to love one another. The thing that students always ask me is what sets us different, or why is it so problematic when we study the Holy Spirit? So I keep saying, I think the problem arose because the Spirit had always existed even before Christianity. So the understanding of the Spirit, they changed the gate again. Hold on, I'm gonna have to ask what gate we're supposed to go. Hold on. What gate? What gate did they say? We have to go back to C. I was at C26. Now we have to go back to C28. Oh my gosh. I don't think we're gonna get out of here. But okay, the one question that people have always asked about the Holy Spirit that I kind of enjoy talking about is the Holy Spirit existed even before Christianity came into the world, or how we view Christianity. It's existed with the Israelites' understanding, the Jewish understanding of the Holy Spirit. When we think about other world religions, they all had this understanding of the Holy Spirit. I think the problem with Christianity, or why we became so exclusive, is if the Spirit is big and it's massive. Lately I've been looking at Scott Kelly's Twitter account. No, Scott Kelly, the astronaut.
Oh, yeah.
and looking at his pictures. the world is huge, and we're like so paranoid about being so orthodox or paranoid about having correct doctrine. But this spirit is so massive. It's beyond our understanding. It's beyond our kind of earth globe.
Mm-hmm.
So I said the problem that we have as Christians is we put the word holy in front of it, and we claimed it, and we made it our own, and we made it so exclusive that only Christians have this understanding of the Holy Spirit. And I think that has become very problematic. So I kind of talk about that, and that's been very liberating for many students, because they've also tackled with the question of the Holy Spirit and why we are so misunderstanding, or how Christianity has been in war or kind of in disagreement with so many other religions.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once we kind of realize that the Spirit had existed, it exists in other religions, etc., then we don't have to be so scared. And I think we can be open. Anyway, there's so many announcements here. I don't even know if I'm making any sense as I'm talking.
It's amazing that you're able to do theology while running down the concourse like OJ in a Samsonite commercial, or Hertz. It was a Hertz commercial. He was jumping over Samsonite luggage.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, Grace.
I know.
Grace, you crack me up. Grace.
I know. I crack myself up.
No,
all
Grace,
the time.
you are the smiliest, giggliest theologian I've ever met.
Really? Okay, I'll
love
take that
it.
as a compliment.
I love it. Theologians should laugh more, and they should.
I know.
Your next book should be on laughter.
Laughing. Don't you think so? I think so too. I actually have a ton of other book ideas. It's just I don't have time. I have to actually just kind of live like a hermit and kind of be isolated so I can finish writing the books.
I have a feeling you will never live like a hermit, Grace.
But the laughing thing, actually, I touched upon that laughing in my other book. What's the other book? Theological Reflections on Gangnam Style. That was co-written with my friend Jo Che, and we ended with laughter. And the book talked about laughing because I'm on a walkway, so I'm gonna stop so I can think. That book was on Theological Reflections on Gangnam Style and how people do make fun of other folks. So that's the way with racism. So when we look at how Asian American men are viewed, when we looked at Psy, who came up with the song Gangnam Style, people, we asked the question in the book: are we making fun of him, or are we laughing with him, or are we laughing at him?
Uh-huh.
And then we end with the gift of laughter. That if we are all created in God's image, then we shouldn't be laughing at each other, but we can laugh with each other, and it becomes like this holy laugh. So we kind of touched on it, but it's one area that can be really expanded. I think that will help this world a lot. Don't you think so, Tony?
Hey, Grace, I'm all for it. I need a little more laughter, probably. So, yes.
That's good. So I think that's one. And then I think I can tie down with the Holy Spirit. Within the Pentecostal tradition, the Holy Spirit makes us move, makes us dance, makes us talk, speak in tongues, etc. So I think that can be all tied in with laughter, that it really gives us life. And scientists keep telling us that we need to laugh more to live healthily or live longer. So I think it's all kind of tied in together. So awesome. I'm kind of excited. I'm going off topic about off theology, but I think it's all intertwined. Theology is about living and living a flourishing life. I think laughter always helps us.
I love it. Well, it's been a joy walking with you from the C concourse to the B concourse, and now back to the C concourse.
Yes, I know, and I hope the plane is going to be there when I get there.
Well, have fun at Duke, and if you see my friend Lauren Winter, give her a big hug, and if you see my friend Will Williman kicking the shins.
Okay, this is all recorded, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, as long as you said that. Okay, that's fine.
Hey, have a great trip, Grace. It's great to talk to you as always.
Okay, great to be on, and hopefully I'll be on again, and I hope this all made sense.
Absolutely.
To all the listeners who
Looking forward to your book.
Okay, looking forward to your edits. Thank you so much, Tony, for all your work.
Bye, Grace.
Appreciate it very much.
You bet.
Okay, yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There goes Grace. Hello, Helene.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, you're in a much less frantic environment than Grace.
Yes.
Where are you?
I'm in my living room.
Is that a peaceful place for you?
It is peaceful. Yes, and luckily for you, I took my bird and I put her to bed because otherwise she'd be getting out of my shirt and crawling around. And
I was just asking if you had any. I was just going to ask if you have any pets.
well, I could go get her if you were interested. But
It's a bird. What kind of bird?
she's
I don't. The only birds I know about are birds that I shoot and eat.
Oh,
So
you shoot birds?
I do. Yeah. No, it's great. Do you eat chicken?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, somebody killed that bird, so you could eat it. I just kill my own birds.
Yeah. Well, not mine.
No, no. There's probably not enough meat on your bird.
No,
Probably.
she's a little fun conure.
And where do they come from? What
Yeah,
part
I
of
can
the
go
world?
get her. You want me to go get her?
Yeah, come on,
Yeah.
let's see her.
All right, I'm gonna go get her.
You
I'll
know
be
it's
right
a
back.
she? Are you sure
Yeah.
it's a she?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we're gonna wait for Helene Russell. Helene is writing the Homebrewed Christianity Guide to Evil. So when she comes back, we're gonna talk to her about evil, bad things, and why somebody would ever want to write an entire book on evil. And so you can type your questions in on the left sidebar. You can send a tweet, and you do a #Q, I believe, to make your tweet be a question for us. Okay, so please do that. You can send messages in the right sidebar. Okay, here she is. We're about to see this bird. This may be the first ever live bird on a Homebrewed Christianity podcast or videocast. The first ever bird on Homebrewed.
There she is.
Oh, she's beautiful. Oh, so she must come from some very tropical part of the world.
I think Brazil, although she's actually from Idaho.
Okay. Well, Brazil by way of Idaho.
Yes.
And she makes a lot of noise?
Well, she can.
But she likes to climb into your shirt.
Yeah, you want to go in the shirt, Tangelo? Or are you going to make Mommy a liar now? All right. She's engaged with what's going on here. She's like,
does she fly? Does she fly?
She flies a little bit. Her wings are a little clipped, but
Okay.
you know, she's a house bird.
When birds are oh wait, Grace is calling back in. This maybe this would be funny if she's butt dialing into this. Let's just see what Grace. It would really be funny. Yeah, Grace, did you have something more to say? Oh my gosh, she really is butt dialing us. Okay, I'm gonna. Wow, this is. Okay, there she is. She's making her squeak.
That was her little squawk. Yeah, that's when that's not when she's particularly loud.
So you don't like it when I shoot birds, but you're happy to like clip parts of their wings off so they can't fly.
Well, you don't want her to run into anything. Yeah.
So who would be her natural predator? A cat, I suppose.
Cats, other kinds of creatures that are in Brazil. Of course, hawks.
Oh, birds of prey, raptors.
Yeah, raptors, hawks. I've seen her she gets very upset when she sees a cat. She makes a certain noise that is only a cat noise. She's very, very animated when she sees airplanes. I don't know what she's doing what are you doing over here? Oh, she's flying over there. Okay, she wants to go over there for a little bit. All right.
When you're gone during the day, is she just boogieing around the house, or is she in her cage?
Oh, she's in her cage.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want her to get hurt. I don't want her to run into anything.
And what's her life expectancy?
30 some years.
Come on.
Yeah, that's what they say. She's 20.
She's 20-year-old bird?
She's 20.
That is shocking to me. Most of the birds I shoot only live 2 or 3 years.
Oh, do you shoot ducks?
Ducks and pheasants and geese.
Little duck.
Like ducks are really tasty.
I know, but they're really cute too.
Cuteness is immaterial.
Is it? I don't know. It's interesting because I can't really eat duck anymore. I used to eat ducks because I have developed a friendship with these ducks.
Okay.
That I know that are at a pond that's about 8 miles from here. That's where I ride my bike to often, and
Sure.
so, but I can understand why you'd want to eat duck.
Well, animals, like any animal, they taste like what they eat. So it depends on what kind of duck you shoot. I mean, some ducks are have very tasty meat based on what they eat. And other ducks that are diver ducks and eat like fish and eat crap off the bottom of lakes and rivers, they don't taste so good. They taste very greasy and fishy. But ducks like mallards eat wild rice, and teal eat grasses and rice. They taste really good. And I'll tell you what, wood ducks eat acorns all summer. Oh my gosh.
They're so pretty though, those wood
ducks. They're beautiful, especially mounted up on the wall.
Oh. Well, I feed the ducks that I visit peas.
Okay.
They like frozen peas. I
bet they taste good too.
Oh no. Let me see what she's doing over here.
Are you going to keep your earbuds in when you move?
Yeah, hang on.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. Let's talk about evil.
Yeah. So,
why in the world you're a little backlit? There you go. Okay.
That better?
Yeah, that's good. Why
over here.
Why in the world of all the Homebrewed Christianity books would you pick the one on evil? Why do you want to write 150 pages on evil?
Well, that's a really good question. I think it's one of the things that's really interesting to me in being a process person and being interested in process theology is that the folks that I've known that have gone to process theology have been interested in process theology. The men typically are attracted to the way that process theology helps deal with the question of evil. And, I think you can get there not just going through process theology, but I do think process offers a unique way of thinking about God not being in charge of evil, or God not having all the power. And if God doesn't have all the power, then God's not in charge of the evil.
Let's God off the hook a little bit.
Yeah, but it also helps me understand, it helps people, I think, not just me, understand the relationship between God as all good, but not allowing these horrible things to happen, which I think so many, I love Grace talking about the Holy Spirit and how the Holy Spirit is moving all over the place. And I think some of the people that have left the church or left Christianity have left because tragic things have happened, and their response is, why did God let this happen? How could God have done this? Or
but so, do you think a weaker God? I'm just going to play devil's advocate here a little bit.
Okay.
But do you think that like a weaker God who isn't responsible for evil, because God like kind of doesn't have that much control or that much power, do you think that's what people are looking for?
Well, there's two different questions. I think the people who are attracted to process theology, so I think men are attracted to process theology, or many men who are attracted to process theology are attracted to process theology because it helps them answer this question. That doesn't mean that process theology is the best way to answer that question. Because I think it's a helpful way of thinking about it. But I can also understand that there is a comfort in thinking evil things, bad things happened, and I just have to give up trying to make sense of them because God knows what's going on and God's in control of it. And so God's got a plan, or God's got some way in which it'll all come out. I mean, to me, the this is a little bit off topic, but because it's not evil. But to me, the most important, and I can't believe I'm going to say this and it's going to be recorded, is the most important verse in the Bible is from Romans, when Paul is talking about nothing can separate us from the love of God.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I can see how someone would interpret that as nothing can separate us from the love of God, meaning that all things work for good for those who love God. Another Kierkegaardian thing. But I don't know that you have to go that direction, but I can see how people can go the direction of, if nothing can separate me from the love of God, then whatever is happening, it's all going to be okay. That God's in control and God's in charge, and so bad things can happen, but it's not going to hurt me. However, I think a lot of people have had the experience of it still hurting.
Yeah, it does definitely still hurt, and I just wonder if it hurts less or more if you give up on God's power and knowledge. You know what? You pull away the omnis and you say,
yeah,
in the process view of God. There's. It seems like there are kind of two dilemmas if you go in the process direction. The one dilemma is that it just intellectually it just flies in the face of all classical conceptions of the Judeo-Christian God, which is that God is ultimately the author of all things. I mean, you're really rejecting Augustine, Aquinas, the reformers, and then there's this existential thing of being like, do I really want a God who's not all that powerful and doesn't have control over it? I mean, I tried to find a middle ground in my last book on this too. So I just don't know how satisfying it is for people when you pull away some of that power from God. Is that ever something that keeps you awake at night when you're thinking about this book?
Yeah, I have a hard time going. I go one way and then I go another way. It's not. I think that process thought. By the way, Kierkegaard's more my guy than process, although I certainly like process. Mm-hmm. I think that process theology can help us make sense of things when we need things to make sense. I think it's the best system for making sense, but I don't necessarily think that we always have to make sense. I think God's beyond sense making. Oh my gosh, what?
Oh my gosh.
Did you freeze?
You're going to have to back up as soon as you hear me because you froze there for a second.
Okay.
But you're right at I think it makes sense, but it makes sense. Reiterate what you were just saying there.
Oh, okay. Okay, I wasn't sure. So the question is, sometimes it's really important for people that things make sense and that they don't have a cognitive dissonance going on in their faith. That doesn't mean that they can explain everything or that we have to explain everything. And I think I think process theology is the best system for explaining and understanding and analyzing the issues, particularly about the relationship between God's love and God's power. Are you back yet? Are you still there? I think maybe you lost me. Did I lose you again?
No, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, good. Okay.
I think the problem might be on my end, so keep going.
Okay. So, but that doesn't mean that I think that God is limited to process theology's view of God.
Okay.
But I think process theology offers us a really helpful way to think about these things. Does that make sense? No, you froze.
Yes.
The other question about evil, though, which is, I would move to. So we were talking about why evil. So I would move to the question of sin. And I know sin and evil aren't exactly the same thing. But I think the question of sin is a really interesting question for our world today. And I know that a lot of women that I have talked to, people that are, I'd say they were maybe raised Christian, or maybe they had some minor engagement with the church, have found that the way that sin is described and the way that guilt is used in Christianity has been the thing that keeps them away from the church. And so when I talk with them about, well, there's women who talk about an experience of sin that's different, that people have an experience of sin that isn't about being a rebel or being prideful. But I mean, that's why I really like Marjorie Suhaki's view of dealing with sin as violence against creation. And I also find like Sue Dunphy, or what's her name now? I mean, she's passed now, but Sue Nelson's book on sin as hiding, so women having a sin of hiding, fits better with, I think, many women's experience than the sin of pride. And while these are things theologically, you've probably been exposed to these things many times, but these are things that people that I meet that aren't, they want to be spiritual, they want to be religious, they're not quite sure how to do that with the church because it's been something that's not worked for them. They find that very appealing. It's very helpful for them in thinking about how to be more fully human people and being more fully human people with their spirituality intact.
Yeah. So, have you started writing the book? Tell us about this, the Homebrewed Christianity Guide to Evil. How are you going to, there's a lot of evil in the homebrewed community. There's just a lot of
evil, a lot of pitchforks.
There's a lot of depravity in the homebrewed Christianity posse. Many of the deacons are deeply depraved souls. So I think you're going to sell a lot of books, which is exciting. But
so I'm curious about what you think depravity has to do with sin or evil.
Well, it's part of our sin nature. It's funny because I didn't grow up in an evangelical environment. So when I got to college and I started learning this evangelical lingo, that people would just use as though everybody knew it. And
you froze. Should I imitate you, Tony?
And one was like,
well, so Tony, since I know you're thinking about sin here and depravity, I think it's interesting. I'm just going to have a little monologue here since you're not talking. I think that depravity is actually, that's the part of the problem, is that when we confuse sin and sex, we confuse sin and drinking wine, which, by the way, I should have a little glass of wine, shouldn't I? Because I noticed you were drinking some wine, so let's drink a little wine. With sin, I think we alienate folks, actually, and I find it not very helpful to think. I think it's so easy to think, wanting to have sex with that person is sinful, or eating too much dessert is sinful, or not getting X, Y, and Z work done is sinful. And I think it kind of trivializes sin, because I think sin is actually much more about our relationship with God and how I think we sin when we don't let God love us, and when we don't let that love that God has for each of us, but for me in particular, fill my heart, when I don't let my heart resonate with God's loving kindness. And if I don't let my heart resonate with God's loving kindness, either for myself or for others, then I tend to do things that are not good for myself. They're not good for others. They alienate and estrange me. They violate the well-being of me. They violate the well-being of others. They keep us from being aware of the potential that we have, and they keep us from being aware of the connection that we have with every living creature, including those ducks that you and Pete, I guess Peter, want to eat. So it's hard to know what to say here because you're not responding because you've gone away. So I'm going to look at what people are saying here. Could you just do nice things without a belief in God? Well, you could, but then it wouldn't be about evil. I mean, it wouldn't be about sin. It wouldn't be about faith. It seems to me that the reason why God is important here is that God gives us the hope and the reassurance that we are loved even when we don't think we are. Tony, you're back.
Yes, thank you for plugging on without me.
I hope that was the right thing to do.
That was the perfect thing to do. Yes, thank you for just talking. I think my kids were streaming too many things upstairs.
Uh-oh, was that sin?
So did you explain evil while I was gone?
I explained it all. Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking forward to editing the book.
I'm looking forward to your editing too, and I'm hoping that we'll come up with a good way of not saying too much, because I think there's so much that can be said. So I'm looking forward to learning more about writing and speaking and communicating from you and your editing process.
Thanks. Well, that is something that I do love to do, but I would say that I'm really glad actually the trip chose evil, because if you were going to pick 10 topics to do intro guides about Christianity for, evil might not be top of the list these days. So I think I'm glad he chose it to be one of the topics, and I'm really glad he asked you to do it. And I think it's going to be really, it's just not something that people don't go like, hey, I'm going to go over to Barnes and Noble and I think I'm going to pick up a book on evil.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. So
can I ask you a question? What are these little hands at the bottom of the screen? I've never done this before, so
people are like giving you props. You've been getting more props than like anybody I've ever seen on a Homebrewed Blab. Look at that.
Really?
You're just racking up the numbers. I'm gonna have to kick you out of here before you break the blab.
Record? Oh
yeah,
no!
I mean, you've already broken the record. I've got 10, and you have 247.
Well, I assume that's good. Like, oh, now they're giving you. Okay, so these are like, we like what you're saying. People are giving you
high fives.
Or they're like, oh, hey, this is a problem. We got to talk to her.
They're giving you high fives.
All right, good. Well, that's
hey, it's been absolutely great having you on.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to reading the book, and once you write a couple chapters, send them my way, and we can start talking about it.
Yeah, I will definitely. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being on.
And thanks for letting Tangela be on too.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good night.
It was great. I would never eat your bird.
Thank you.
Never eat her. She's too pretty.
Yeah, she is, isn't she? All right. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Side. Hey, Peter Rollins. Jump on, buddy. Come on, Peter. Oh, there we go. Hey. No, you're yeah. Come on, buddy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there we go.
I wasn't expecting to be on. I was just checking. I was just coming in to see what was happening.
I got an email from Tripp, and he gave me 4 names, and yours was one of them, unless there's another Pete.
The first thing I knew about this was it comes up on my Twitter feed. Pete, there's a rumor that Peter might be on this blab. So I kind of like clicked in, and he's right. How did he do that?
Sure enough, Peter's on.
How did he know? I didn't even know.
Well, how are you, buddy?
You want to talk about evil? I'm doing good, man. Good to see you. Good to see you.
You too.
Is it cold there in Minnesota?
No, it's beautiful. I had lunch with Jay Baker today.
Yeah, he was saying. Yeah, I was chatting to him. Yeah.
It was, 65 degrees, sunny, beautiful.
Very cool. Well, hey, LA's stunning, as always.
Nah.
Loving it here, man. Loving it.
It's overrated.
Only 20 high fives? That doesn't seem very good.
No, it's not very good.
Let me give you one. I'll give you another one. There you go.
I can't give you a high five because I'm signed in as Tripp, and then it would show Tripp giving you high fives.
All right. So Tripp's not even he's not even in this thing?
No, he started throwing up 15 minutes before we went on the air.
No way.
Yeah, Tripp got...
Oh, dear. That's not good. Nope.
Tripp got the TD.
Oh, you're back. You cut out on me, but you're back. So what is this blab for, by the way? What's the topic? What's the conversation?
Tripp is setting up blabs the first Monday of the month for the next 4 or 5 months. I think he and I are going to be interviewing authors, particularly authors who are in the Homebrewed series, but other authors. And I think this is one of the ways that Tripp is going to be building content for the Homebrewed. I think maybe especially the TNT podcasts.
Very good, because we're actually having scintillating conversation here. I'm sure this is really building.
Oh my gosh, this is the best. This is the best there's ever been. Pete, what are you working on these days?
This and that. I'm doing a lot of speaking stuff. That's what I'm primarily interested in. I've been running Atheism for Lent. We got 600 people doing it. We got 12 churches. And you know what? The feedback's been crazy. Not about me, but about reading these critiques and people finding them really useful. People have been reading Marx, Freud, Nietzsche, Feuerbach. They've been reading some of the theological atheisms, and people have found it really helpful and beneficial. So I've been really pleased.
That's good.
Yeah, I've been putting a lot of work into it.
They're telling you how smart you are, reminding you of that.
I wish.
So when you take people on atheism for Lent, they read and they get online with you once a week, and you talk. You interview people. Do you give lectures? Like, what's the format for that?
Yes, so basically you get 40 reflections, one for every day of Lent. Sometimes it's a reading, sometimes it's a podcast or a YouTube video. Each week is a different theme on atheism. Okay. And it's exploring, by the way, how these are actually much more intertwined than we think. So, for example, this week we're doing the mystics. So we're looking at how atheism functions for people like Anselm, for Marguerite Perez, for Meister Eckhart. So we're looking at philosophical atheism and theological atheism, and we're showing how these interpenetrate each other. And then once a week, I give a lecture. Last week I interviewed Jack Caputo for an hour and a half. Then previously I've given talks. And once I finished it for Lent, I'm actually just going to change it, and it's just going to be 40 days where people can do it at any time they want. Of course, it's a great way of coming up to Easter, where Christ cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me? But it's just a great discipline. And you know this, but it's like I got the idea from a conservative Christian philosopher. So this is not some sort of kind of progressive thing. I got it from Merrill Westphal, who as a conservative Christian was saying, we should engage seriously with the critiques of religion. Perhaps they've got amazing things to teach us. So we've got people who are theists, people who are atheists, people who are liberal, people who are conservative. We've got Orthodox, evangelical, the works.
That's amazing. And how do the 600 people, do they interact with each other?
Yeah, we've got a private Facebook group and people are talking on that, but also people are meeting in person as well. Some people are meeting once a week in like local coffee shops or bars or galleries just to talk about what's happening. And actually the great thing is people are meeting others in their areas. People who feel isolated, who are going, I want to read, I want to be self-critical, I want to question my faith, and I thought I was the only one in my city. And then they're connecting with other people on Facebook who are saying, oh, I'm also from Minnesota, I'm also from LA. And so that's exciting for me as well, that people are making friends in this and making community.
Well, we seem to be losing viewers since you came on. So maybe it's because they're Googling atheism for Lent. That must be it.
Yes, absolutely. That must be it. That must be it.
And you've got another one of your boutique Belfast events coming up next month, right?
Oh, I'm so excited, man. Bringing 50 people to Belfast there. I love it every year. We've even got a name for it this year. It's called Wake. And that's going to be the name for the future. Because Wake is a celebration that happens over a loss. And most of the people who come to my festival are trying to find a way to live after the loss of certainty, the loss of kind of thinking they have all the answers, but also to celebrate that and to find a faith that can embrace ambiguity, complexity, unknowing, where we can go out drinking as well, artists, musicians, poets. I just love it. I love it.
Is it sold out?
We got 4 tickets left. So if anybody's interested, I reckon they won't go really fast. I think they'll go in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They usually sell up until a couple of weeks before, but yeah, there's only like 4 left. Last 2 years we've sold out, so
I'm sure I'll be invited one of these years. But
oh yeah, it's in the mail. It's in the mail any day now, Tony. Any day now.
And then what are you going to do this summer?
This summer, no real plans. I've got another book to write. I'm going to do a lot of writing. I might spend some time in Ireland, but I'm loving LA, so I'm going to do some more courses and events here. Like I'm starting to do 2-day events in LA.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
And you're hosting one at the Hatchery, is that right? Are you doing stuff there? Like, what are some of the other venues you've used?
Yeah, so last one I did was a church in Glendale. This time it's in the Hatchery, and it's basically 2 days on pyrotheology, radical theology, how to preach, how to speak, how to use poetry, parables, and music to facilitate healthy community, healthy political action, transformation in the individual. These are like the themes that we're exploring, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's
really
awesome. What do you think your next book is going to be about?
So I've already got it all worked out. I'm just in the process of finishing it. It's interesting. You're going to have 3 sections. The first section is called Fulfilling Your Dreams, a horror story. And it's about, this pursuit of the tyranny of finding something that will make us whole and complete and happy, and how all these promises of heaven end up being a bit hellish, And so I'm going to take that angle and do a bit of a critique of secular society as more religious pretty much than the church. Now if you want to find certainty and satisfaction, you could come to LA. Every corner has a prophet telling you they can make you happy if you take the right drug, if you get famous or have the right amount of money or look the right way. And so my job is to bring existential doom and angst wherever I go and try to get paid for it.
It's good.
Because the tyranny of the pursuit of happiness is disastrous. We need the freedom not to pursue our happiness, but freedom from the pursuit of happiness, so that we can actually have a joy and a depth to our lives. There you go, in a nutshell.
That's good.
I'm sure you're going to offer me thousands for the manuscripts.
Well, I'm sure that's people will be rushing to their local bookstore to get a book.
Oh, yeah.
First, they're like, I want to buy a book on evil, and then a book on how everything I've done for my whole life is tyranny and drive me down the wrong path. I
had a great title for it today, but I've completely forgotten it. So I hope it comes back. but it was definitely a good title. Came to me this afternoon.
You need to.
Here, by the way, why have I only got 5 high fives? This is embarrassing. This is not good for my ego. There's 6th one. Thank you. Whoever gave me that 6th one. I deeply appreciate it.
Begging, like, you're losing viewers and gaining high fives.
I'm losing. I've got less high fives than you. This is terrible.
I've been on longer. Do you Can
I give myself a high five? Let's see. No.
Sorry. Do you feel? I'm gonna. This isn't a setup question, but this is an actual real question I have for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel more certain of your atheism now than when I met you 10 years ago?
No, I mean, here's the thing. As you know, the traditional atheist and theist distinction that's very popular in America is not one that, necessarily makes sense to me. And, we could talk about the different ways you can understand God. I mean, in Christianity, there's God as a being, God as hyper being, which is this mystics, God as ground of being, which is the existentialist, God as event, God as a call. There's lots of different ways of understanding this terminology, and I'm fascinated in that conversation. But for me, faith is the sense of commitments to the depth and density of life. In one sense, it's not an intellectual sense that life is meaningful. It's a deeply felt sense that life is worth living for and dying for, and that is kind of the indubitable commitments that I have. And that, for me, that doesn't rest on atheism or theism or agnosticism. That rests on a certain mode of life. And my work, as you know, my project is to argue that Christianity is not about a belief, but about a way of being, a way of life, a way of existing in the world.
But don't you think for so many people, their way of being is driven by some deeply felt belief? For some people, it's more of an existential, an experience of the other, and for other people, it's more of a intellectual decision that they've made, that the cosmos is a certain way, that certain things are ordered, that there's a certain hierarchy of being. I mean, people didn't just make this up out of thin air. The whole Western tradition that we've inherited, it's come from people's earnest, honest attempt at understanding being.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why, I'm not so concerned about what people believe, but how the belief functions. I think you can believe those things in a very healthy way. You look at the universe, you see the stars in the sky, and you go, I just feel there's something more. But it's not a defense mechanism. It's not a covering over your anxiety. It's simply this experience that you feel. Or you can look at the stars and go, I think this is wonderful and this is it. And that can be powerful. But you can also believe in a way that's hiding your uncertainty or your doubts or your anxiety. And also you can hold atheism in a way that's unhealthy and hiding as well. So so for me, again, it's not about what you believe. That's an interesting conversation, but I'm always interested in how our beliefs function. And Kierkegaard, who was mentioned earlier, had a real affinity with that kind of idea.
Yeah. I think the challenge, of course, is you're running so counter to the dominant narrative of Western democracy, which is so tied in with faith and, Christian faith and belief. Do you ever... Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, and I absolutely agree. And that's why, in a sense, I'm within that tradition. That's why I use the language. It makes sense to me. I like what you're saying. And like Gianni Vattimo, an Italian philosopher, when people ask him, why do you call yourself a Christian? He says, well, I can't not be. That's the language I have. That's the universe I was thrown into, in terms of what he was read to as a child, the type of discourse he has. But what I want to show is that even basic things like the way we understand God, there's different understandings within Christianity, not only at any one given time, but also changing over time. So, for me, it's not static. So what Christianity will look like in the future might be very different from the past. A very Protestant principle, the principle of always reforming, always saying like, our views change and reform. There's never a point where we land and say, that's it.
Well, we're coming up on 9 o'clock. I wonder if, what's your favorite part of Los Angeles? You've lived there over a year now. Like, has it been 2 years that you've lived there?
Yeah, but only about 6 or 7 months where I've been in the heart of LA. I was living in Redondo Beach for a while. Yeah. And it's hard to say, but in some respects I love the chilled outness of the place. I was going to live in New York, but it was just too hectic. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So this suits me more. I like the kind of the chilled out, the weather, I've met some wonderful people. This has been really good for me.
LA is not known for its philosophy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only philosophers I've ever known from LA are like Teach It Biola.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, the other reason why I like LA is, as I say, like for me, religion is now in a secular form. I was talking to Bart Campolo about this morning, actually. That LA for me is one of the most religious places in the world, probably second only to somewhere like Las Vegas. If you think of religion in the continental philosophical tradition of that which is like an opiate, that which numbs your suffering and helps you cope with life, but ultimately doesn't, evoke you to change it, then I'd say, oh my goodness, this place, like everyone's promising you heaven. Take ayahuasca, you'll have oneness with the divine. Do yoga, you'll have your moments. And so my work here is needed because people are suffering in LA so badly under the tyranny of trying to have everything right, looking perfect, having fame. In fact, people if you ask them what they do, they say, I'm an actor, I'm this, I'm that. Whenever they're, working in a local bar, there's nothing embarrassing about working in a local bar, not in Ireland anyway. But people have this, they feel that they have to have this narrative of success, and it's deadly. And I mean deadly. I know someone recently committed suicide over this. She was beautiful, she was cool, she had from the outside everything, but inside she was suffering under this tyranny of never getting enough, never having it right. So part of being in LA is about the good news that life is difficult and we don't have the answers, and we can learn how to find a way to embrace that. This is my mission field, Tony. My mission field.
Well, honestly, I mean, I've known you a long time, and I do think that Los Angeles is, it is strangely perfect. It's a strangely perfect place for you to be. And I've told you before that years ago when my oldest kid, who's now 15, I think he was 6, and I was speaking at the National Youth Workers Convention in Anaheim, and I brought him along, and then we went to Disneyland, and the whole ride over on the shuttle bus to Disneyland, I made him repeat after me the Baudrillard quote, Disneyland is the first toxic excrement of the hyper-real society. I just made him say it over and over. There's something about the hyper-reality of Los Angeles that I think plopping you right in the middle of it, it's a much better fit for you than the pool house behind a Connecticut mansion. Honestly, like it's. I mean, I bet it's a place of great fertility for your spirit and your mind.
Yeah, no, thank you. Absolutely. And Baudrillard, as you know, because we talked about this before. I mean, his point is simply that things like Disney World, they make us think that the rest of the world is not a fiction. So we think that Disney World is the fake world, therefore we live in the real world. when actually it covers over the fact that all our worlds are constructed. And LA is a very constructed world, and one that I want to deconstruct.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All
That's
right,
awesome.
Man, listen, love talking to you. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, great to talk to you. And you've been a nice opiate for the end of our conversation here.
Wonderful. Thanks, man. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Peter. See ya. Bye. Well, everybody, I think that'll do it for our blab tonight. We were maybe going to have one more guest, but I don't see him on here. So to the 8 of you who remain, God bless you, or not God bless you, depending on which of your guests you most resonate with. And make sure you tune in to this blab again the first Monday of April, where Tripp and I will be back interviewing some folks, and let us know who you'd like us to interview. We're going to be doing theologians, philosophers, people who are writing books, and a lot of people from the normal homebrewed audience. So great to see you all. Hasta la vista, babies.